Hey, howdy, hello, and welcome to the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Steam Redlight series, the series where we look at Steam's most lowly and controversially rated games to see if they're as bad as the internet says they are. I'm your host for the day, Smirk. Today's game we're going to be looking at is Mushroom Picker Simulator. It was released on August 19th of 2020 and currently has 14 total reviews, with roughly 4 of them being positive. This game is developed and published by Poroshin Develop, who currently has no other games released to their name. This game interested me because Steam seems to think there's no English reviews, even though there's one right here once you take the filter down, so I figure I'd be the first. The concept is simple. You've given up your life as a manure farmer and decided to sell all your possessions and start picking and selling mushrooms. In the process, you become an errand boy, as there are 15 missions that you unlock one after the other, and the 5 I got through were all fetch quests, so I can only assume the rest are the same. You start off with a hut, one of which you never see, so I can only assume that it doesn't exist. This hut can be upgraded alongside your equipment. It's at about this time that you see that you might have been better off staying a manure farmer because you forgot to buy things that would be considered quintessential, things like a compass, binoculars, or even a mushroom encyclopedia.
Hi, yes, here are the Agaricus bisporus you asked for.
There's also some additional equipment you can buy, such as licenses to pick mushrooms, medicine, food, and water. All these items are consumed when they are used and constantly have to be restocked for money. When you're actually in the forest, you're just running around with the limitations of stamina, energy, and hydration. There are some hazards around the forest, as there's a chance that you can suffer a leg injury, which is just going to prevent you from running if you don't have a medkit to fix it. This injury is completely unpreventable, by the way. It just happens whether you're walking in the forest or the flat roadway itself. You don't even have to be running. The other hazard being snakes, which, funnily enough, just don't move. Once you pick up mushrooms, you go to the bus stop and leave after waiting for 15 seconds. If you happen to complete the mission, you unlock the mission after that. Otherwise, you can just pick up mushrooms and get money for them after the hike is completed. And now that we've covered the basics, let's talk about the good and the not so good stuff. I found that the gameplay loop was slightly satisfying. It didn't really bother me to play this game until I ran into some of the not so good stuff. I was perfectly happy running around gathering mushrooms, and in a way it was sort of relaxing. The mushroom designs also seemed pretty accurate when you looked at them up close in comparison to searching them in your search engine of choice. I couldn't find these mushroom models on the internet, so my guess is that the developer made the model themselves. Lastly, I like the aspect of not having an auto-updating map. If you open the map with M, you'll realize there's landmarks that serve no other purpose other than to help you find your way. Your position doesn't change on this map when you move. Everything about it is static. This does mean you could end up getting lost in the forest, but I do like this as being part of the gameplay since it does add immersion. And as life has promised, all good things come to an end. So to start this off, there's no tutorial or real introduction to the game. The game isn't that difficult to understand, but there's a lot of weird gameplay mechanics that could ruin an experience for someone. For example, the loading screen tells you that you have to stop by a bus stop in order to leave the level. What if that loading screen tip doesn't appear, or the person puts their attention elsewhere temporarily? The game is riddled with bugs. Here's some of the ones that I had run into. When walking, I had gotten stuck in between 2 trees and could not get out.
Help, I'm trapped. Wait, am I actually stuck now?
This caused me to have to quit back to the menu and lose 1 license. When you reach the edge of the map, sometimes the warning doesn't want to go away. Also, what the hell does me being in front of a swamp have to do with anything?
And stand!
You can't pick up mission items when your inventory is full.
Oh no. I can't take the item because I have no fucking mushroom. I have max mushrooms.
But if you have space, the mission item itself does not take up an inventory slot.
Okay, wait a second. That thing didn't even take an inventory slot out of me.
During one mission, the game spawned me on a bus stop, which means I got sent back to my hut before I'd even had a chance to load into the level. This still consumed a license. This specific event really sucked at the time because I didn't have enough money to purchase another license, which means that the money earned from the mushrooms was halved on my next hike. There's also a lot of weird design nuances that don't make a whole lot of sense to me. For example, it doesn't make sense why you don't start with the mushroom encyclopedia. This game actually could have been a bit more educational if it made that accessible at the start and instead replaced that upgrade with something that extends stamina, since there's no visible upgrade for that. There are actually missions, including the very first one, where you have to pick a specific type of mushroom, and you don't actually know which type of mushroom it is, if it's edible or inedible, because you don't have the encyclopedia. Without the encyclopedia, and without using a search engine to figure out what each and every mushroom is, you won't know what classification mushroom you're picking up until the mission acknowledges that you fulfilled the goal. You can't take food, water, or the biggest health kit until you unlock the upgrades in the hut. I guess my man just can't stop by the 7-Eleven on his way to the park and pick up a ham sandwich and a can of soda, just because he didn't finish that kitchen renovation he started several years ago. The biggest health kit is kind of a bummer because it allows you to carry snake antivenom and a med kit for leg injuries at the same time. Without it, you have to choose one or the other. You're still screwed if you have both happen to you at 2 separate times, though, because you can only carry 1 unit of any health, food, or medicine item. Which leads to the next point. I don't understand why the hell our character doesn't have a backpack or some shit. It seems like he's just putting these mushrooms in his pocket. I can just see this dumbass running around with a ham sandwich in one hand, his sody pop in the other, and an all-white Amanita in his mouth because he ran out of pocket space. You also earn money so damn slow in this game, and on top of that, everything is expensive. Not only do hut upgrades cost money, they also cost experience. I don't even know why experience is in the game because there's no leveling system that I can see. You don't run faster or pick up mushrooms quicker or lose stamina slower or anything like that if you gain experience. You can't pick and choose what equipment upgrades you want, you have to get the preceding one. This makes sense in the mushroom storage case, but if you wanted to hold out for the mushroom encyclopedia, you're going to be disappointed when the game forces those binoculars on you, because binoculars are a level 1 item and the encyclopedia is a level 2. I have no idea what being low on energy or having a snake bite does. There was one point where I had a snake bite and my energy had run to 0, yet I generally seemed pretty unaffected and I was able to finish the level okay. However, in another run I had been bitten, and some minutes later I died even though my bars weren't empty. This leads me to believe that the snake bite kills you after some time, but there's no indication of that. And the last and biggest thing that I thought I didn't enjoy is that there's no field of view slider. Now, this actually ended up being in my favor. Let me tell you all the method of how to find mushrooms with extreme ease. First, don't let it be foggy. Can't see shit when it's foggy. Second, get on a road, whether it's paved or dirt, doesn't matter. 3. Look in the distance. Whether or not you have binoculars, you should see some small protruding models. In many cases, they're mushrooms. 4. They'll be harder to spot when you get closer, so just line them all up and walk in a straight line until you gather them all. This is because the game loads foliage as you approach it, but the mushrooms, and mission items, all spawn at what seems like the beginning of the game and don't despawn based on where you are. With all this knowledge, you should be able to hit your mushroom cap in a fraction of the time. You can also see the snakes that don't move so you can avoid them. Now this is not necessarily a bad thing, but it is an exploit and probably in some capacity just an oversight by the developer. But this does make the game much easier. Because this game is a huge grind due to the rate you earn money at, coupled with how expensive upgrades and equipment are, I can't think of many reasons why people wouldn't use this technique aside from just not wanting to exploit the game. Now, with all things considered, let's move to the last phase. The game is relaxing to play when it's not buggy. The game is riddled with weird gameplay design decisions, which inhibits the educational potential. The money numbers seem really desynchronized. You earn money really slowly, and the cost of upgrades is really high, leading to a very heavy grind. The game is over-encumbered with bugs and glitches that can really ruin an experience. Overall, do not recommend. Alright, well, that's the end of the video. You can stop watching now. If you thought the video was alright, don't forget to click the like button. Feel free to share the video with anybody who may or may not like mushrooms. If there's other games out there that are lowly or controversially rated, feel free to comment them down below. And lastly, subscribe to the channel if you couldn't shirk the smirk, and maybe I'll see you next time. Whoop! Yes, I did it kind of. Not really, God. I'm a waste of life.